Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Naruto and Hinata Shared a Lavender-Eyed Love Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. We're finally back, shouted a tall blonde spiky-haired boy. He was glad to be back to Konoha. He had grown considerably since he was last here. He was now about 6 feet and had much more muscle to him than when he was a kid. He wasn't overly muscular but he was defiantly toned well. He also got out of his bright orange jumpsuit into black pants and a half-orange half-black shirt. Naruto was so excited he was home, after being away for nearly 3 years with that perverted sage. Though he had to admit a little bit rubbed off on him, but he wasn't a pervert but he really did want a girlfriend, someone to hold, kiss, and just love. Sakura. He remembered having a crush on her when he was younger. So he decided to see if maybe, just maybe she would go on a date with him. He started to sprint to Sakura's house before he was jerked backwards and fell to his butt. He turned and stared at the old man holding his collar. What was that for? Hold on, Spunky. We have to go visit Tsunade, and as much as you want to visit your friends and talk about what they've been doing, we still have to go talk to her first. Naruto pouted and sat on the dirt. He was angry he couldn't go see his friends right away but he could after seeing Tsunade, and she was kind of a friend, but more like an older sister. So he could go see her before his friends. He still wasn't exactly thrilled but he got up and started to follow the perverted old man. Tsunade-sama, Naruto yelled, flinging the doors open. Tsunade looked up in surprise, not quite sure what was happening. She was up all night doing paperwork. She didn't get to see a face as a black and orange blur slammed into her with a tackle hug. She didn't know what was happening so she did what came naturally to her. She punched him, sending him flying across the room. When she finally got a good look at who it was, she was surprised to see Naruto in his new black and orange uniform rubbing his head where she hit him. What did I do? I'm gone for 3 years and when I get back you punch me? He complained, still rubbing his head. And Naruto, is that really you? She questioned. Yes, it's really me. Naruto stopped rubbing his head to stand and shout at her. Sorry Naruto, I didn't get any sleep last night. And when you busted open the door and came and gave me that tackle hug I didn't really know what to do. Well, you didn't have to hit me so hard, and went back to rubbing his head. Well, you do look a lot different than when I last saw you, Tsunade said, trying to defend her actions. Are you two already fighting? Jiraiya said calmly, stepping into the room. Tsunade didn't even bother answering the question. She simply held out a hand to the 2 seats in front of her desk and said, "Have a seat." Both of them quickly took a seat as Tsunade asked them how their training went. Naruto leapt out of his chair. I've gotten really strong and learned all kinds of new jutsu. Naruto stopped to show off his muscles, even if Jiraiya is really perverted. Tsunade glared at Jiraiya. Oh come on Naruto, stop goofing around, I wasn't that perverted. What about all that stuff about Tsunade? Jiraiya didn't completely hear the comment Naruto was making but Tsunade's glare became angrier. That stuff was really perverted. Naruto continued, that one part about how much you wished Tsunade would L. Jiraiya quickly jumped up and clasped his hand over Naruto's mouth, reducing Naruto's words to muffles. Tsunade had a glare that looked like she was looking right through you, and if she saw completely through you, you were as good as dead, if you were lucky. Jiraiya gulped. Tsunade stood up about to yell at Jiraiya, when the doors flew open again revealing 3 girls, a pink-haired girl, who had black gloves on, like she was ready to punch anyone who got in her way. She wore the same pink outfit with black short shorts on and she still had her hair cut short. Sakura had to admit she liked it short. The next was a blonde-haired girl who was in a purple t-shirt and purple skirt. Her hair was long with a flip of hair in front of her face. That flip of hair was almost a trademark of Ino. Though she didn't look threatening, she could be scary if you get her mad. The third girl was a brown-eyed brown-haired girl and did look scary. She had weapons everywhere. She had only 10 weapons visible, but she had about 1,000 hidden either by scrolls or she had them hidden in secret pockets of her outfit, which was now a white top with black pants. You didn't want to get any of these three mad. Naruto quickly realized one girl was missing, a very beautiful, shy, soft lavender-eyed girl. Naruto was taken back a little when he thought of her as very beautiful. She was pretty when he last saw her, but then he suddenly realized he really wanted to see how she was looking now. He ran to the girls and greeted them all with a big group hug. A small blush crept across all of their faces. He was better looking than they remembered him. He was already asking them how they were and what they have been doing, but before they could even answer he released them from his grip. "Where is Hinata-chan?" They were a little surprised that he even remembered her. He never paid any attention to her when they were younger, except during the Chunin exams. "Hinata. She couldn't come, she had to train. Why do you want to know, Naruto?" Sakura leaned closer, curious to why he had asked. I just was hoping to, see my friends." Naruto stammered. Sakura didn't believe him, but she shook her head to show she took it as an answer. Naruto was glad he managed to dodge a bullet, but he still couldn't figure out why he was always thinking about Hinata. Maybe he should ask Tsunade when no one else is around. While Naruto and the girls conversed on what they have been doing and how they were doing, Tsunade was glad to see he was still the same kid, and that Jiraiya hadn't rubbed off on him too much. She remembered that she got him a little gift for his return, but she would save that for when the girls left. Jiraiya leaned over to Tsunade. "Hey, what are the chances of you and me going?" "No," Tsunade snapped before he could even finish the sentence. "Which reminds me," Jiraiya realized he walked into a fire. What was Naruto saying about those thoughts about me? Jiraiya gulped and scrambled through his brain trying to find a good enough lie. Lucky for Jiraiya, the girls had to leave, so Naruto was back in the room talking to Tsunade. He sighed. He would have to buy that kid some ramen. "I bet you're eager to see you friends, huh?" Tsunade said, focusing her attention back to Naruto. "You bet I am," Naruto shouted. "Well, you better get going." "Really, I can go?" "Of course, you idiot, now get going." Naruto turned to take off out the door before he realized he had to ask Tsunade that question. Naruto quickly spun back around and leaned over the desk to Tsunade. "Hey Tsunade, since I've been back, I've been thinking about a certain girl lately, and I don't really know why. Do you think you know?" "In what way have you been thinking about her?" She quickly glanced at Jiraiya, who realized he was back into the fire. "Not like pervy sage thoughts," Naruto shouted. Jiraiya was about ready to defend himself but thought he should not attract any more attention from Tsunade. "So you think you love her?" Tsunade inquired. "Is that it?" he said. He thought about it. Maybe that was it. No, it couldn't be. He liked Sakura, didn't he? "Thanks anyway, Tsunade," as he turned and walked toward the door. "Oh, here, Naruto. It's my welcome back present." She threw a pair of keys at him, smacking him squarely in the back of the head. Naruto fell face first into the ground. Yeah, he's still the same kid, she thought. Naruto got up and grabbed the keys. With so many thoughts going through his head, he didn't care that she had hit him. He looked at the keys on the key ring. There was an address. "It's your new house," Tsunade explained. "House?" Naruto was shocked. She got him a house. "You didn't have to get me anything." "Well, I did, so take it and enjoy your new home." He quickly thanked her and strode off. Jiraiya stood up and stared to walk out of the room as well. "Where do you think you're going?" Tsunade asked, raising an eyebrow. "I have to go meet up with some friends and you know, that type of stuff," he stammered quickly, putting his hand behind his head. "You never told me what those thoughts were." She looked out the window, then back at Jiraiya, or where Jiraiya was supposed to be, but he was gone. Darn coward. Naruto walked down the street looking for his new house. He was going down the street looking at all the houses, somewhere huge, somewhere smaller but nice. Then he finally found his. It was a medium house, big for him considering he was only one person. It was 2 stories and a large front lawn. The house was an interesting color of tan. He didn't know what to call the color, but he liked it. He walked down a cobblestone path, finding every 5 steps or so there was a row of colorful rocks, some with pictures of leaves, fire, water, mountains, and other various things. He liked how they looked. They were so intricate and on a rock. Who puts that much time on a rock? When he got to the front door, he slid it open, kicking up a bunch of dust. He would have a lot of cleaning to do. He sighed. He wasn't exactly thrilled about cleaning, but he continued to explore his new house. It was amazing. There must have been at least 8 different bedrooms complete with furnishings. He was amazed to see his backyard. It was a sparring ground. He loved that, and couldn't wait to try it out. He found a bathhouse in room to the right of the sparring ground. It was big enough for a couple people and it was a large area. He found the bath to be a hole carved into the floor. It was finely crafted. He was going to try this out after he finished cleaning. After he finally stopped exploring the house, he went out to get a broom and some dusters. He walked out of his new house and headed for the store. He was thinking about what he needed, and hunted it down in the store. On his way for a broom, he ran into a very beautiful, lavender-eyed girl. She was just 2 inches shorter than him. Her dark hair, long hair that stopped a little before her waist, made her beautiful eyes more beautiful, if that was possible. He stood there staring at her, and how much more beautiful she looked. She was hot, for lack of a better word. Her curves were amazing. They were everywhere they should. He was sure many girls envied Hinata because of them. He suddenly realized she was staring at him too. Then he finally got out of this trance she had on him. He smiled widely and hugged her. He picked her up off her feet and squeezed her in a bear hug. She couldn't believe he was back, and so much better looking than she remembered. She then realized she was getting a huge hug from him, and blushed a deep crimson red. He was asking her how she was, but all she could focus on was the hug she was getting from Naruto. He realized he was still holding her, then quickly pulled away and blushed a little bit. She was still staring at him until finally he asked her how she was doing again. His words shook her out of her astonishment. Naruto-kun, she managed a little stammer. Yeah, it's me all right, Hinata-chan. He wanted to say so much more, but he found it oddly hard to say anything more. But he finally worked up enough courage to ask her something, though he wasn't sure why he wanted to ask her, but he felt compelled to by those amazing lavender eyes she had. Do you want to go grab lunch with me, Hinata-chan? Hinata blinked rapidly. Was he asking her on a date? No, it couldn't be. It was just lunch, but it was close enough. She was so still deep in thought and she hadn't responded yet. Naruto was worried she had not answered him yet. He turned his head a little. Hinata. Did he offend her? Crap. Maybe she hated him. Maybe she was so shocked he would even try something like that she was insulted. He knew someone as beautiful as her would never fall for him. I'm sorry, Hinata-chan, I didn't mean to make you angry with me. Her eyes widened. Oh no, now he thought she was mad at him. I'm not mad at you. I would love to get lunch with you. It's just been so long since I saw you last and now you look so. She went back to a nervous habit of pushing her index fingers together. Naruto saw her pushing her fingers together. He used to think that she was weird when she did that, but now she looked so cute. He didn't know why, but he kept finding more and more things about her attractive, so much so that it scared him. You just look so different. She mentally kicked herself for not being able to compliment Naruto on how good he looked. Great, I thought you were mad at me. He put his hand behind his head, relived that the beautiful girl in front of him didn't hate him. I could never be mad at you, Naruto-kun, she whispered. Naruto was close enough to hear her, and sighed. He never wanted her to be mad at him. They gathered what they needed to buy and headed to check out. Hinata started to go to another lane, but Naruto quickly grabbed her hand and pulled her back into his lane. Oh, no you don't. I'm going to pay for both of us, he said, smiling that big smile he had. Hinata blushed. Not only was he trying to pay for her, but he was also holding her hand. It's okay, Naruto-kun, I brought money. I can pay, you don't have to. She replied. Usually she wouldn't have been able to respond, but while he was away she became a little less shy. She wasn't confident like Naruto, but she was confident. But I want to, he grinned. She nodded and allowed him to pay. After buying the things they needed, they went out to get some lunch. Hinata constantly had a small pink blush. Her now rosy cheeks made Naruto smile. She was so pretty. That thought shrank his smile. Was he in love with her? Was Tsunade right? No, he couldn't be. He loved Sakura, or so he thought. He thought to himself why he liked Sakura, but all he came up with was she was pretty, and strong, and Sakura being strong was bad for him. When he thought about Hinata, his smile returned. She was beautiful, and hot, and pretty. She was all three at once. She had all those little things he loved, like her nervous habit with her fingers and her almost constant blush. She was smart, she was much nicer than the other girls, and she was strong, with all the things he had seen her do when they were younger. She must be even stronger now. She had an amazing body. No perverted thoughts. He quickly snapped out of thinking and turned to Hinata. Where would you like to eat, Hinata-chan? Hinata was a little surprised. He was asking her what she liked to eat. She thought they would go right to his favorite ramen shop. She liked ramen, and she knew that Naruto would want ramen too. I would like ramen, how about Ichiraku? She smiled, knowing he would love that. Yeah, I knew you had great taste. He grabbed her hand again and ran to Ichiraku. She was dragged for a second because he was holding her hand again. She quickly realized he was dragging her and quickly started to run with him. She smiled and laughed at how happy he was to finally have some of the ramen he loved. Naruto heard something, a very heavenly noise, and it was coming from behind him. He turned his head around to find that the heavenly tone was Hinata's laughter. She was smiling too. Now she looked like an angel. His heavenly voice turned to heavenly laughter. It was amazing. It was the best thing he ever heard. That amazing laugh seemed to fill his whole body and make him feel like he was floating. He smiled back at her, and quickly came to a halt. Hinata didn't stop as fast as him, and she continued past him a little. He pulled her hand and sent her swinging back to him. He caught her in his arms and hugged her. He was laughing now, and she was blushing because he was hugging her again. After he stopped laughing, he looked at her, curious as to why she was blushing. Then he realized he was holding her extremely close. He didn't really want to let go, but he did anyway. But he was still holding her hand and walked inside with her hand in his. She hoped this day would never end. It just got better and better. At this rate he would be kissing her by the end of the night. She knew he never would, but she could dream, and oh how she dreamed. Hey! Shouted Naruto, I'll have some beef ramen. He turned to Hinata. Why you like, Hinata-chan? Miso ramen would be nice, she replied. And some miso ramen for Hinata-chan. He continued to shout. A girl stepped forward to see the two sitting there talking. She didn't notice anything about the two. She wrote down the order. Some beef ramen for you, sir. She looked up at the man sitting there to see a blonde, spiky-haired boy with little whisker marks on his cheeks, and she only knew one person with whisker marks. Naruto. She exclaimed. Yeah, I'm finally back from that trip with that pervy sage. Both girls giggled at the comment. Though Naruto found Hinata's giggle so cute, not quite like her laugh but still incredible. Wow, you've grown. So some beef ramen for you and some miso ramen for you, Hinata-chan. Yes please, Hinata said. It will be ready in just a little bit, she said as she turned to go to the back. The two sat there talking about what was new in their lives, until the order was brought out. Here you go, some beef ramen for you, Naruto-kun, and some miso ramen for your lovely date here, she said, setting the bowls down in front of them. Hinata was taken back a little. Did she just call me Naruto's date? She thought. She was ecstatic to be called Naruto's date, but she wondered how he would take it. Naruto was a little surprised too, but he liked the idea of being on a date with Hinata. As the girl walked away, Naruto turned to Hinata. Is this a date? He asked. His question was full of thought. Hinata's eyes widened a little. If you want it to be Naruto-kun. Then it's a date, he said, though it was a little louder than intended. She blushed again. She was on a date with her favorite person in the whole world. She was so happy. She smiled and giggled. He smiled and laughed with her. Yes, he defiantly liked having Hinata as a date. After they finished, Naruto was telling Hinata about one of his adventures with Jiraiya. So pervy Sage decided to try to peek at the girls in the bathhouse next to us. Hinata blushed slightly at the comment. But one of the girls caught him and punched him so hard, he was knocked unconscious. I heard that, said a long gray-haired man said walking in. Come on kid, stop telling stories. What are you doing here? Naruto said squinting his eyes. Well, you helped me dodge a bullet today in Tsunade's office, so I thought I would treat you to some ramen, but I can see you already have a date. Looking at Hinata, who was sitting right next to Naruto. Yup, Hinata-chan and I are on a date. We just meet up today at the store. Hinata blushed at being referred to Naruto's date again. Well, I'll take care of the bill for you then. Thanks Jiraiya. Naruto replied as he gathered up the things he bought from the store to head out the door. He also made room for Hinata's stuff and carried most of that out with him. As they left, Naruto remembered he had a new house. He had to show Hinata. Hinata, I've got something to show you. Follow me. They finally arrived at his house. Hinata was awestruck at the size. This was huge for one person. Naruto-kun, do you live here all alone? Naruto was a little saddened by the all alone comment, but while she was there it was hard for him to be sad. Yeah, it's really big for me, but that great for parties, he said, still staring at the house. So come on, let me show you around, he said, walking to the front door. He set everything by the door to open it up. He slid the door open, kicking up a little dust, but not as much as the first time. Hinata saw why he bought so many cleaning supplies at the store. He was going to have to clean a lot. Maybe she would stay and help him out. He walked in holding his hand out into the house. Welcome to my new home, he said proudly with a big grin on his face. She walked in, kicking up some dust with her feet, causing her to sneeze. Bless you, Naruto quickly replied. Her sneeze was cute. It was small and very delicate, like it wasn't even a sneeze. Every minute they spent together, Naruto found something new he loved about her. He found it hard to keep his mind off her. Wow, you sure have a lot of work to do here. Do you need some help? Hinata offered. If you want to, and if not, that's okay, I can do this. I want to help. I'll help you clean this place up in no time, Hinata smiled. He loved it when she smiled. He would have to make her smile more, a lot more. Alright, let's get to it, he shouted. As he went for his bag of supplies and pulled out 4 feather dusters, he tossed 2 to Hinata, and then used his 2 to sweep the doors and then dust under and around the door. While Hinata dusted the furnishings, they had to open all the windows to get the dust out of the house. After about an hour of dusting this and that, it started to look like an actual home instead of some abandoned house. He went back to his supplies and got a broom. He started running around, slashing the floor with the bristles of the broom. After about 20 minutes of Naruto's Revenge to the Floor episode, they were both feeling pretty dusty themselves, and a little worn out. Naruto remembered the bathhouse. Hey Hinata, do you have a bathing suit at your house? Yes, but why Naruto? Hinata wasn't sure why he had asked this question. Go get it and bring it back here. I've got something else to show you, Naruto said with a smirk. Okay, but why? I'll show you when you get back, Naruto said as he swept Hinata up off the floor where she was standing. He spun her around, then set her down facing the door. Hurry up, otherwise you will have to walk home in wet clothes. he said in a teasing voice. Hinata nodded and quickly walked out the door, then ran to her house. When she got to her house, she noticed everyone was in the training grounds. She was glad she could quietly sneak in and out. She slid open the front door and quietly walked to her room, where she searched through her closet to find her bathing suit. After digging through most of her clothes, she found it. She quickly darted out of her room, out the front door, and back to Naruto. When she got back, Naruto opened the front door in a pair of orange swimming trunks with red stripes down the sides. He also had two black towels with an orange swirl in the middle hanging over both shoulders. She blushed, seeing him without a shirt on, revealing his abs. She looked down to the floor that was much cleaner than when she was first here. She tried to pretend it was more interesting than Naruto without a shirt on. He saw she was holding a two-piece bikini that was pale lavender, which matched her eyes. They had dark purple flowers on the back of the bottom part of the bikini. Nice suit, it matches your eyes, Naruto complimented. She blushed more, from a light red to a dark red. He was complimenting her. She was shocked he even knew what color her eyes were, and he was right, the suit did match her eyes. Thank you, Naruto-kun, she smiled and looked back up at him. There it was, that beautiful smile again. Naruto was glad she smiled more often. There is a bathroom down the hall to second door to the right, you can change in, he said, gesturing to the hallway behind him. Okay, I'll be out in a second, she said, walking to the door. He watched as this angel among him floated down the hall with such grace he was sure she didn't even touch the ground. Her hips swung slightly. In fact, it was so slight you wouldn't notice unless you were actually watching her, and it was enough to show her amazing curves and figure. She turned to enter the room when she noticed him staring at her. She blushed and smiled at him. He realized he was staring and quickly averted his gaze. She smiled again and entered the bathroom to change. He couldn't wait to see her in that bathing suit. After a minute or so of waiting for Hinata to change, she finally walked out. The suit revealed more angel soft skin. He now exposed stomach was toned, but she didn't have abs, but it was slim. Naruto never got a look at how her stomach looked because she always had a slightly baggy jacket that hid her curves a little. Now her curves were out in the open and they were amazing. She had the body that the pervy sage always talked about. He saw that her legs were toned nicely as well. She had no fat anywhere on her body. She was just incredible to see. Her S were revealed a little more and he couldn't help but to stare at her incredible body. He soon realized what he was doing and stared to blush, but he found it almost impossible to turn away. When she saw his staring, she blushed. Her whole face was a very dark red. She walked toward him, swinging her hips on purpose. He noticed she was walking toward him and turned with a deep blush on his face too. You look well. Amazing. He still couldn't look directly at her, otherwise he might not be able to stop himself from hugging and kissing her, and he wasn't sure how she would react to that. He didn't want her to be mad at him, so he didn't try anything. Thank you, Naruto-kun, she stammered. She knew he was trying had to not look at her. She blushed. He thought she was hot. She could see it in his eyes when he was staring at her. So come on, I guess I can show you now. He grabbed her hand and started to walk to the bathhouse. He passed the training ground and went right to the door. It was all ready, and he had gotten it ready while waiting for Hinata to come back with her bathing suit. See, I have a bathhouse now, he said, smiling. She smiled back. That would explain the suit, she thought. Let's try it out, he said. Hinata walked forward, putting her foot into the warm bath. He held her hand and gently lowered her in. When she was in, he quickly got in, causing a little splash. Hey, you splashed me, Hinata said in a teasing voice, hitting the water to shoot some water at Naruto. I didn't mean to, he said, splashing her again. The water war raged, both of them were laughing. They were having a great time, just the two of them splashing each other. Naruto ran through the water right to Hinata. He quickly grabbed her and held her out of the water so that only her feet were in the water. He locked his hands around her exposed stomach. Sea monster, he shouted, spinning Hinata in the air. She was laughing hard, and fake screaming. Oh no, someone save me. She played along, acting like a damsel in distress. Who will ever save me? She continued. Naruto made a quick hand sign behind her back, making a shadow clone appear. I will, shouted the clone, as he jumped into the bath. Naruto set Hinata in the water and ran at the clone. They switched positions so the real Naruto would rescue Hinata. He quickly vanquished the clone and turned to Hinata. You are safe now, my lady, he said, still playing. He swam over to a still laughing Hinata. No sea monster can stand up to Naruto, he said, standing up out of the water, flexing his muscles. Hinata slowly stopped laughing. This was amazing. The sun was slowly setting. Naruto opened the door of the bathhouse so they could watch the sun set together. He held Hinata in his arms. She had laid her head on his shoulder. The sky was so beautiful, filled with all sorts of oranges, deep reds, and light purples scattered through the sky. It's so beautiful, Hinata said. She not only got to watch this amazing sunset, but she was also in Naruto's arms. Not as beautiful as you, Naruto whispered in her ear. The compliment sent a shiver down her spine. It yanked on her heart. She had waited so long for Naruto to say something like that. She felt like crying, but she couldn't, otherwise it might ruin the moment. Naruto leaned over to her cheek and kissed her. Hinata's heart skipped a beat, or 10, Naruto had just kissed her. This was a dream come true. Hinata-chan, Naruto continued, ever since I got back I couldn't stop thinking about you. Hinata couldn't breathe. This was everything she ever wanted. The only thing more was if he pulled out a ring, and asked her to marry him. If that happened she would probably faint for an entire week. And I've been thinking a lot. Hinata hung on to every word he said. She also realized she needed to breathe. And, I want you to be my girlfriend. Everything in Hinata tensed. Girlfriend. He was asking her to be his girlfriend. Hinata couldn't breathe and couldn't feel her heart anymore. It had skipped so many beats. Hinata did what Hinata did best when it came to being romantic with Naruto. She fainted. Naruto felt her tense and then relax again. He let go of Hinata with one hand and used it to cup her face. He turned her head toward him, so he could look into those beautiful eyes. Unfortunately, they were closed. Crap. He remembered that Hinata seemed to faint a lot when he was around her. She must have fainted again. He picked her up in his arms, putting one arm under her knees and another behind her back. He slowly got out of the water so he wouldn't hurt Hinata. She was light, like an angel. It was no problem carrying her. He just had to move around so he wouldn't hit her against anything. He moved to the bedroom right across from his. He laid her down gently and covered her with a blanket. He leaned over and kissed her cheek. Good night, beautiful angel. He whispered as he headed to his room for the night. Hinata-chan, ever since I got back I couldn't stop thinking about you. And I've been thinking a lot, and I want you to be my girlfriend. Hinata woke up right after girlfriend. It was just another dream, and she knew Naruto would never ask her to be his girlfriend. She sat up and looked around expecting to be in her room. But she wasn't. She was in an older style room that looked like it was just recently cleaned up. She remembered that part of the dream. Or maybe it wasn't a dream, maybe it was real, until Naruto asked her to be his girlfriend. She decided to get up. She smelled something like cinnamon and dough, her favorite food, cinnamon rolls. She got up and walked to the kitchen where Naruto just put the finishing touches to the cinnamon rolls. He set them on the table and turned around to go wake her up for breakfast. But there she was standing in the hallway. She had a little bit of bed head, but it looked cute. She stared at him. He had made breakfast, and was humming a tune. He was happy about something. She continued to watch as he walked toward her. He picked her up and carried her to the table. Did you sleep well, Hinata-chan? He asked as he sat her down in a chair. She nodded, and continued to stare. And do you have answer? Answer. To what? She was confused about what he was asking her about. An answer. Yeah, about last night. What happened last night? She said. Maybe that dream was reality. She started to sort out real and dream, or maybe it was all real and she had dreamed it also. I asked you to be my girlfriend. It wasn't a dream. She was so exited. Naruto had asked her to be his girlfriend for real. It wasn't a dream. Yes, 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 I'll be your girlfriend. It brought tears to her eyes. She and Naruto were now together at last. She got up and hugged him. She buried her face into his chest. She cried just a little, but she wiped them off on his shirt. Really? That's awesome. I didn't think you respond so fast. I thought you would need a day to come up with the answer. Naruto-kun, I've always wanted to be your girlfriend. She finally built up enough courage to tell him, I love you, with all my heart. Naruto-kun. Naruto was taken back a little. He had no idea she loved him so long, but that would explain a lot back at the academy. I love you too, with all my heart, Hinata-chan. Hinata's soul jumped out of her and took a trip to every place in the world screaming, he loves me too. This started new tears in her eyes. Naruto hugged her back. He used one hand to tilt her head to look at her eyes. He wiped her tears away with his thumb. She smiled and kissed his cheek. He turned his head to kiss her on her lips. She went numb. It felt like he was giving her soul back. She felt like everything in the world stopped for this moment. Everything bad that ever happened to her melted away. This was incredible. She wanted to stop the world right here and never do anything else. But as the saying goes, time stops for no man or woman, as the case may be. Naruto pulled away. You must be hungry, considering we didn't have dinner last night. Just then Hinata's stomach growled a little. She blushed a little. Well, I know you like cinnamon rolls, so dig in. They both sat down, and Naruto ripped a small piece of cinnamon roll and held it in his hand. Say ah, he said. She opened her mouth as he fed his new girlfriend some cinnamon roll. They both smiled and Hinata giggled a little as she did the same thing. They ended up just feeding each other. Then after feeding and getting fed, they sat on the couch together and talked about old times, and about what they were going to do today. Naruto leaned over to kiss Hinata, but before their lips could meet, a loud knock came from the door. Crap, he mumbled. He quickly kissed Hinata on the cheek and walked to the door. Another knock came. I'm coming, he yelled. He opened the door to be greeted with a big group hug from Ino, Sakura, and Tenten. Welcome home, Naruto, they shouted. Sorry Naruto, we couldn't find Hinata today. We went to her house and she wasn't. They looked over to see Hinata sitting on the couch. Hinata, what are you doing here? They let go of Naruto to run over to Hinata. I stayed here with Naruto-kun after helping him clean up his new house. She replied. Naruto turned around to go sit next to Hinata, but he felt a hand on his shoulder and was spun back around. Naruto. Boy, you look different than when we last saw you. Howled a man with a dog in his jacket. He looked a little scruffier than when he was a kid. Behind him was a man in a long trench coat with sunglasses, who showed little to no emotion, ever. And behind him was black-haired man with a bored expression on his face. Kiba, Shino, Shikamaru. Hey guys. Naruto yelled, greeting his friends. He used his hands to wave them in, come on in. But before Naruto could move too far, a green blur jumped in and shook his hand with a firm grasp. Hello Naruto, I can see the power of youth is still burning in you. Naruto remembered this over-eccentric man. Yuta, Lee, trying to get Lee to let go of what now must have been Naruto's broken hand. And of course you remember Neji and Choji. Lee still had Naruto's hand in a death shake. Of course, he finally managed to get out of Lee's death grip, to shake the other's hands, but now he used his other hand. Come on guys, sit down, this house is big enough for all of us. He smiled and went to sit next to Hinata, who was still being questioned by the girls. This stopped when Naruto sat down and kissed Hinata on the cheek. Everyone stopped and stared for a minute. What? Naruto asked. Did you just kiss Hinata? Sakura was shocked. She wasn't sure what else to say. Yeah, what of it? Naruto asked, not sure why he was getting so much attention. He turned to Hinata, who is blushing slightly at all the attention. Come on guys, leave us alone. What if I kissed her? Does that mean you two are together? Ino finally said, stepping into the conversation. Yeah, Naruto replied, happy to see the blush fading from Hinata's beautiful face. How long? You just got back yesterday. Ten said, also finally stepping into the conversation. I guess this morning. He looked at Hinata, who nodded. You guess? Sakura replied. Yeah, I asked her last night and she fainted. Hinata blushed again. She would never forget that night, it was so amazing. Everything was so perfect. Even if Naruto didn't ask her to be his girlfriend, she still would have remembered it, but now, it was engraved in her mind. Now that the three girls knew Hinata finally got together with Naruto, they pulled her aside and started asking her a bunch of questions, like did she spend the night there, and what were they doing at night. The questions made Hinata blush. Naruto saw the girls prying into Hinata with their questions, and tried to stop them, but he was also swarmed by the boys asking him some of the same questions. After the interrogation time was over, it was almost noon. Hey, are you guys hungry? Naruto shouted to everyone. Many, yes, and a little, came from the room. Alright, let's go get some food. Hinata, are you hungry for anything? Naruto asked. Everyone was shocked he was asking Hinata what she wanted to eat. He usually just ran to Ichiraku for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Not really. Besides, it's your turn to pick. You asked me yesterday, and made me cinnamon rolls this morning. Are you sure? I love you, and I know I would love anything you want to eat, he grinned. I'm sure. Besides, I love you more, she said in a teasing voice with a little smile on her face. No, I love you more, Naruto replied. I love you more. No, I love you more than the whole earth. I love you more than the earth and the stars, Hinata said as she started to giggle. Everyone sighed, they knew where this was going. After a rousing game of, I love you more than this and that, they remembered the homecoming gifts they had for Naruto. Well, I love you more than. Naruto was still playing the, I love you more, game when Sakura interrupted. Naruto. We get it. You guys love each other more than space and the stars and blah blah blah. Naruto turned to Sakura to complain about how she interrupted his winning streak, but he saw her outside with everyone holding a present they left on the porch. Welcome home, Naruto. Everyone shouted. Naruto turned to Hinata, who smiled at him. He grabbed her hand and walked out to everyone. After a lot of thank yous from both Naruto and Hinata, they set the presents inside and went to find a place to eat. They found a place with a koi pond around the front. It was a little bit more expensive than Ichiraku, so they decided to try it out. They walked in and they took sets on stools next to a long table. A black-haired girl came up to them to take orders. After a while of catching up and more questions on Naruto and Hinata's relationship, their meals were brought out. Naruto and Hinata switched plates so they could feed each other some more. This caused a lot of giggles to break out from the girls. Even though they teased Hinata about it, they wished they had someone like that. The guys didn't really care. They were hungry and ate their food. They noticed what Hinata and Naruto were doing and it made them laugh a little. Naruto and Hinata were the first to finish their meals because they were about the only ones who weren't laughing. To pass the time, they started a new game of, I love you more. This caused new laughter. I love you more than ramen, Naruto said proudly. Most of the group stopped eating. They turned to look at Naruto, who was still smiling. Naruto didn't love anything more than ramen. Hinata was a little shocked herself. Naruto saw everyone staring at him. What? I love Hinata more than everything. Even ramen, Kiba said with astonishment. Of course, even ramen. Hinata is the best thing in the whole universe. Naruto stood up and hugged Hinata. He picked her up of her chair and spun around once. He stopped and lowered her so they were at eye level. He kissed her on the lips, and she kissed him back. Ino dropped her chopsticks and stared. They looked so calm, something about the two of them together made the whole room light up. Neji stood up. Apparently Neji liked dark places. He put his hand on Naruto's shoulder. He stopped his kiss, and turned to Neji. Naruto, don't do that in public. I don't mind if you do it, but not in public. Considering Hinata's father doesn't know about this, it would be best to keep a low profile in public. Naruto had to admit he was right. Hinata's father didn't know, or at least not yet. He put Hinata down and started to talk to her. Should we tell your dad? Naruto asked. No, I don't think so. My father doesn't like me that much, and he doesn't like me either. Right? Hinata nodded. Well, that's too bad, 'cause I love you, and nothing would ever change that. Hinata loved when he said, I love you. She wouldn't be able to survive if she couldn't hear those words. Those 3 words kept her alive. I love you too, Naruto, Hinata replied. I love you more. Naruto was ready to play again. We should come here more often. This food is pretty good, Naruto said as he paid for him and Hinata. The others paid for themselves. After all, he isn't rich or anything, but he never minded paying for Hinata. As they walked out of the restaurant, they went back to Naruto's place to talk and explore the house. When they got there, they went in their own direction. Lee, of course, was the first to find the sparring ground. Naruto, may I try it please? Sure Lee, if I get to spar with you, Naruto replied. He grinned. Very well Naruto, I will spar with you, Lee said, taking his side on the field. Be careful Naruto, and Lee, try not to hurt him. Hinata said. Like he can hit me, Naruto said, teasing Lee. Do not worry Hinata-chan, I will not try to hurt Naruto too much. Lee smiled that goofy smile, like Guy-sensei. Go! Naruto shouted, making a quick shadow clone hand sign. 10 clones appeared and charged at Lee. Lee quickly took out his clones with a leaf whirlwind. All the smoke gave Naruto the perfect opening. As soon as Lee touched the ground, he lunged at Naruto with another leaf whirlwind. But he stopped in mid-air. He couldn't move. Naruto grinned. Like it Lee. What is this? Lee was shocked. Naruto even caught him. Chakra entanglement. I learned it while I was traveling with Jiraiya. I also learned this. Lee was moving again, but not of own free will. He was dancing. Naruto picked up a little bit of puppetry while he was away. Dance for Hinata. Lee was now dancing and doing monkey-like actions. Hinata smiled and laughed. Naruto saw that smile again and felt himself walking on air. Now he knew why Shikamaru liked clouds so much. If it was anything like what he was feeling now, it would explain his cloud daydreams. Naruto continued making Lee look like a fool by dancing like a monkey. But he finally let go. Lee was a little embarrassed, but that faded as he gave Naruto a light roundhouse to the face. It was light but strong enough to knock Naruto over. Lee laughed. We are even now, my friend. Naruto sat up as Hinata and Sakura rushed over to heal the very minor wound, but Sakura knew Hinata wouldn't even want a bruise to be on his face. Naruto laughed. Alright, fair enough Lee. Hinata giggled. But Lee, you looked so cute when you were dancing, Sakura teased. Lee blushed a little at her comment. He didn't think she would even say anything to him. It was about 5 o'clock before everyone started to leave. The only people left were Neji, Sakura, Ino, and of course, Naruto and Hinata. Hinata, I should probably escort you home. Your father was worried where you were last night. Neji commented. Ah, can she stay here? Please. Naruto said, holding Hinata and doing his best impression of a 5-year-old. Hinata laughed. She patted his head. I'll come back. She was interrupted by Neji. Maybe you can stay. Everyone looked at Neji. He was never one to listen to complaints. Not only that, but he was also letting her stay. As long as 2 conditions are met, One is that you two stay here. He said, pointing to Sakura and Ino. And condition two is that you two, he said, pointing to Naruto and Hinata, don't do anything that should be reserved for marriage. Naruto and Hinata both got the message, they both blushed, and they actually almost blushed the same color. Naruto finally spoke up. Don't worry, I won't do any of that stuff, you have my word. And I never go back on my word. Hinata smiled. His ninja way. Don't worry, Neji. We won't do that. Hinata agreed. Neji nodded. He knew Naruto never went back on his word, so he trusted him. He also trusted Hinata, so he knew condition 2 was met. Now will you two stay here? Neji asked, looking back at Sakura and Ino. They nodded. But why would we need to stay here? Ino asked. That way if Hiyashi asks where Hinata is, I can tell him that she is spending the night with you two. Naruto was glad she could stay, but that also meant the other two had to stay. So it wouldn't be just her and him. Excellent. Then I'll see you later, and I'll bring some supplies back for you, Hinata. He said, walking out the door. Bye, Neji, everyone shouted in unison. Naruto turned to Hinata and kissed her. He held her and whispered his love for her into her ear. She giggled, she whispered back. He laughed her and lifted her into the air. He put one arm under her leg and another behind her back and carried her to her room. He quickly ran into his room and closed the door. Before Sakura and Ino could even ask what was happening, Naruto appeared and Hinata also appeared. They were both in their bathing suits. He quickly scooped her back in his arms and walked out the door to the bathhouse. Ino and Sakura watched and didn't move. It was like watching a play. It was 3D, but you couldn't interact with the people. They followed the couple to the bathhouse. They slid the door open to see Naruto with his forehead against Hinata's. They were both staring at each other. Naruto leaned back enough to kiss her forehead. Now it's just you and me, he said, smiling, a smile that showed he was going to spend every second with her tonight. He noticed the two girls in the doorway. His smile faded. Mostly. Naruto realized the girls didn't bring bathing suits, and he couldn't risk them leaving, so he and Hinata got out and dried off. They were now sitting on the couch and chairs in the main room. So what should we do? Naruto asked, considering that Naruto couldn't just stay up with Hinata and kiss her all night. He was disappointed, but at least she could stay. How about a game? Ino suggested. Like what? Charades. That was the only game Ino could think of at the time. Yeah, okay. Who wants to go first? Sakura quickly sprang to the front of the room. I will. Sakura was eager to play this game. She liked this game, and she was good at it. Alright. Well, let's get this game started. As Ino sat down on the couch next to Naruto and Hinata, who were in each other's arms. Sakura nodded and started her motions. First she started by punching air, and then acted in slow motion, getting hit in the eye. A fight. Naruto shouted. She continued doing the action over again. A fight. Naruto repeated. Sakura sighed. She held up 2 fingers. 2 words. Hinata guessed. Sakura then held up 1 finger. First word. Hinata continued. Sakura walked over and pointed to the black on Naruto's shirt. Black. Sakura tapped the tip of her nose. Sakura then pointed to her eye. Black eye. Hinata was much faster than Naruto at this sort of thing. Yup. You win, Hinata. Now it's your turn. Sakura said, dragging Hinata out of Naruto's hold. Hinata, I have an idea. She leaned close to whisper into Hinata's ear. Naruto saw a pale blush sneak across her face. It slowly became darker, and darker, and darker. He wondered what Sakura was telling her. When Sakura finished, she leaned back to see Hinata blushing deeply. Hinata turned to Sakura wide-eyed. I can't do that, Sakura-chan. Hinata was embarrassed. Sakura had suggested doing a lap dance for Naruto, and then she could write it off as a charade. Come on, Hinata, do it. Sakura had an idea, but they could use it later. No, I can't do that. Sakura sighed. Looks like she would have to use that trick, but she could save it for later. Fine. Do something though. Sakura took her seat. Hinata wasn't sure what to do, but she got an idea. She started to hold her breath, and then puffed out her cheeks. She then stroked her arms through the air. She stopped holding her breath and started to slap air. Naruto recognized the splashing motion. Naruto jumped out of his seat. Last night. Hinata stopped. He was right, but she didn't think he would get it so fast, or refer to it as last night. Both girls stared at him, stunned that Naruto had called out last night so blatantly. All the girls were staring at him. What? What do you mean what? What on earth did you do last night that looked like that? Sakura yelled in his ear, while holding out a hand pointing to Hinata. Well, he was right, Sakura-chan. They both stared at her now. Yeah, we spent the evening in the bathhouse I have. Naruto explained. The two girls' stares went back to him, except now their eyes were more questioning. So what was that? Sakura asked. Little did they notice Neji had come back with Hinata's supplies. We went in the bath together and we were having fun with a little splashing game. Neji stopped. He wished he hadn't come in. If they had already broken condition number 2, he was going to kill Naruto. You two took a bath together. You weren't even together and you were already taking baths with each other. Sakura shouted as surprise. Does that mean you two already saw each other? Ino stammered. Neji was about to scream. Oh yes, he would defiantly kill Naruto now. Hinata blushed a very deep red. Naruto also blushed a lot, especially at the thought of the angel Hinata. He also realized he forgot to mention the part about them having bathing suits on. No, of course not. We had bathing suits on. We just took a warm bath in our bathing suits, after cleaning my house. He put his hands up in a defensive position. Neji sighed. That was close. Thank goodness, Neji said out loud, scaring the heck out of everyone in the room. I thought you two had already broken condition number 2. I brought Hinata's stuff, he said, tossing a bag to Hinata. Thank you, Neji. She was still a little red from the whole bath episode. No problem. Hiyashi said that it was okay for you to stay over, so as long as these two are over, and you two don't break condition number 2, I will help, but for now I will leave you guys alone. Neji walked out of the door, leaving a group of still blushing, and now a little scared people alone for the night. After explaining what they did last night, they continued with charades. Because Naruto guessed Hinata's charade, he was next. He got up and thought of a charade, something good. He got an idea. Naruto held up 3 fingers. 3 words, Sakura said. Naruto nodded, then held up 1 finger. First word, Sakura continued, he then pointed to his eye. I. Hinata spoke up. Naruto nodded, he then pointed to the middle of his chest, and then made a figure with his hands. The bottom was pointed and the top had 2 bumps. Heart. Love. Is it love? Sakura shouted. Naruto nodded. I love ramen. Sakura continued. Naruto shook his head violently. He sat next to Hinata and kissed her. He pointed to her. You love Hinata. Ino blurted. Yup. Naruto leaned over and kissed Hinata on the lips. She felt his warm lips press against hers. She kissed him back. He put his hand behind her head and into her soft, silky dark hair. He pressed her closer. He licked her lip. She acknowledged his intentions and she opened her mouth. His tongue entered and licked everything it passed. She loved this feeling of freedom. She felt that there were no boundaries between both of them. She pushed her tongue forward to meet his. Their tongues danced with the others. Though this was the first time they had kissed like this, they seemed to know exactly how to do it. Naruto felt amazing warmth, and he didn't know how to explain it, but he felt like he was talking to Hinata through her tongue. He felt she knew what he was telling her. He was telling her that he loved her more than life. He was saying he would never let go of her. If she left him, he would die. He didn't know how he lived without her before. He wondered why he had never given her much attention before he got back. He realized there was so much to pay attention to. Sakura and Ino stared at the couple. They slowly turned their head to look at each other. They then looked back at the passionate kissing couple. They were still going at it strong, and they looked to have no intention of stopping. They continued to watch the couple, then Naruto leaned back, pulling Hinata with him. Hinata was lying on top of him and still kissing passionately. Naruto started rubbing Hinata's back with his other hand. This was the best feeling he ever had, even more than mastering cool new justice. Hinata lifted herself off, but she was still kissing him. She rubbed his shoulders, she moved her hands up his body to his face. She laid back on him and used her hands to massage his cheeks. He continued to hug her back with both hands now. He knew she wouldn't stop kissing him. He rubbed her back very gently. This had continued for a while. Sakura wasn't sure how long it had been going on. She decided it had gone on long enough. If there was a record for longest most passionate kiss, they had won it by a long shot. Ahem. Sakura coughed. Hinata shot up off Naruto. She had forgotten they were here. She blushed. She had so many thoughts running through her head, and she wondered what they thought of her now or if they would tell Neji. What? Do you mind? I was in the middle of something, Naruto whined. Hinata smiled. He didn't care they were there. Actually, I do mind. If we are going to stay here, I don't want to have to watch that all the time. Sakura said. Naruto pouted. Fine, we won't do that, in front of you at least. He turned to Hinata and smiled. She blushed a little deeper. She knew tonight was going to be full of kisses like that. She hoped the feeling of that never went away. So shall we continue? Ino asked. No. Let's play something new, Naruto said with a smirk. He had an idea for a game. Truth or dare? Sakura suggested. Yeah, Naruto said, trying to act uninterested. Okay. Now we get to the fun stuff, Ino shouted. Sure, that sounds like fun, Hinata replied. Then truth or dare it is. Sakura shouted. Now who goes first? Ino, you go first. You didn't get to do charades, so you can go first. Sakura suggested. Okay. I'll take a dare, Ino replied. I dare you to kiss Choji. Sakura shouted. Naruto, you go with her so we know she did it. Sakura also wanted to talk to Hinata about the kiss, and other things. Okay, come on Ino. Let's get this over with. I want to get back to see Hinata as soon as I can. He said. He kissed Hinata's cheek and then stood up and walked out the door following Ino. Hinata knew why she suggested Naruto go with Ino. Sakura was going to talk to her about that kiss. She somehow knew that's what she was going to do. So Hinata, Sakura started. Here it comes. Hinata wasn't quite sure what she would ask and she was nervous. She went to that old habit of pushing her fingers together. What was that kiss like? Sakura continued. Hinata continued to push her fingers together. How was it? Was it good? Great, so amazing you can't really describe it. Hinata nodded. Well, which one? Sakura continued to pry. So amazing I can't really describe it. Hinata said as she found a very clean spot of floor. Wow, I wish I had someone like that. So anyway, how was that night when Naruto asked you to be his girlfriend? Naruto wasn't very descriptive, so I hope you are. The question made Hinata's head flutter. It brought back so many amazing emotions. She did remember every detail. Well, first Naruto and I were splashing each other and then he ran over and picked me up out of the pool and we played a little damsel in distress game. After the games the sun started to set and we watched it from the bathtub. The color were amazing. The sky was filled with all sorts of oranges, deep red, and light purples. Naruto was holding me in his arms and he kissed me on the cheek. Then he said to me, Hinata-chan, ever since I got back I couldn't stop thinking about you. And I've been thinking a lot and I want you to be my girlfriend, and that's when I fainted. Hinata took a deep breath after having said that she was ready for Sakura to pry deeper. Wow. Sakura said wide-eyed. That sounded like an amazing night. She wished she had someone like that. How many times have you guys used tongue in your kisses? Lucky for Hinata, a muffled laugh came in. It quickly became a riotous laughter. Naruto opened the door holding his sides. Shut up, Naruto. Ino was yelling. But it was so funny, Naruto quickly said before laughing again. Ino punched him over the head, this quickly stopped his laughter. Naruto frowned. We walked over to Hinata while he was rubbing his head. He sat down next to her mumbling something about Ino. Hinata took his head and laid it in her lap. She took his hands away from his head, and she started to massage his head. She used a little bit healing jutsu she picked up from her training. Naruto smiled. He felt good, even though he was just smacked upside the head. He closed his eyes and let his girlfriend massage his head. He felt like a cat, lying in someone's lap just getting rubbed. So what was it like? Sakura asked. Naruto smirked. It was pretty funny, he said with his eyes still closed, letting Hinata's skilled fingers continue to work. She found Choji outside some food shop. She ran at him yelling, "It's a dare." She jumped at him and kissed him right on the lips. He was shocked. His eyes were so wide, I'm sure at that point his eyes were bigger than his stomach. Naruto chuckled again. Hinata giggled a little at the thought. Naruto. Truth or dare? Ino shouted. He slowly opened his eyes, mad someone had interrupted his quiet. He sighed. At least Hinata was still massaging his head. Dare, I guess, Naruto mumbled. I dare you to kiss Hinata and use your tongue again. Naruto smiled. He quickly sat up and pressed his lips against her lips. She opened her mouth quickly. Their tongues meet in the middle. Their tongues danced, massaging one another's. They still tried getting a feeling for this new kiss. Ino kind of liked watching this couple kiss, they seemed so perfect for each other. The room lit up with the warmth coming from them. Even if people had died, if you saw these two kissing like this, it lifted your spirits. It was amazing to watch. Okay, that's enough, Sakura said. She liked watching them a lot, not quite like Ino, because Sakura didn't want to have to watch it. They ignored her, and continued kissing. Sakura walked over to Naruto and grabbed his collar and pulled him away. I said that enough, Sakura growled. Naruto decided it wise to not get Sakura angry. That was the best dare I ever had to do, and it's my turn to ask someone, right? Naruto asked. Sakura nodded. Okay. Sakura, truth or dare? Truth. She replied. Do you love Lee? Sakura thought a little bit. I knew it. Naruto smiled. He closed his eyes again and leaned back into Hinata's lap. She smiled and ran her hand through his spiky blonde hair. Naruto smiled a little, feeling his girlfriend's angel fingers caress his head. Sakura frowned. My turn. Hinata, truth or dare? Hinata recalled Sakura's charade suggestion. Truth, please. Darn. Sakura mumbled under her breath. Fine. Hinata, how many times have you guys kissed using tongue? Hinata frowned. She knew Sakura would do something like that. Only twice, Hinata said. We can make it 3, Naruto said, smiling. He turned his head, and leaned up to kiss Hinata. She met him halfway. This time Hinata licked Naruto's lip. He smiled a little. He opened his mouth. She was quickly met by his tongue. She still felt that amazing feeling of freedom, nothing between them. This kiss was much quicker than the others, mainly because Sakura pushed Naruto back down into Hinata's lap. Come on, Sakura. I was in the middle of something, Naruto whined. He went back up for another kiss, but Sakura quickly stopped him. Naruto frowned. Fine. Sakura turned around to go back to her seat. Naruto sat up and quickly kissed Hinata. Sakura sat down. Hinata, your turn. Hinata nodded. Ino, truth or dare? Truth, I guess. When you were a genin, did you love Shikamaru? Yeah, Ino mumbled. Hinata smiled. Hey Naruto, what time is it? Sakura asked. Naruto sat up and looked at the clock. 10:30, Naruto replied. He put his head back in Hinata's lap. Wow, we should probably go to bed, Sakura suggested. Yeah, I guess so. Naruto sat up. He picked Hinata up in his arms. Everyone else stood up and went to their own rooms. Naruto carried Hinata down the hall, but instead of taking her to her room, he took her to his room and laid her in his bed. He crawled into next to her. Hinata blushed. Naruto, I need to change, Hinata said. Naruto blushed a little. I'll close my eyes. He closed his eyes, put his hands over his eyes and put his head under the covers. Hinata hesitated, but she trusted him. She reached into the bag Neji had brought over. She quickly changed into a very soft lavender pajama pants and pajama shirt. She crawled into bed with Naruto again. She put her face right next to his face. She kissed his hands to show she was ready. He moved his hands away to see a pool of lavender. He smiled and gave her a quick kiss. He wrapped his arms around her and held her close. She smiled and sunk her head into his chest. Good night, my love, she whispered. Naruto smiled. Good night, beautiful, he said. He kissed her on the top of the head and went to sleep. Hinata slowly opened her beautiful lavender eyes. She saw her boyfriend still holding her in his "I'll never let you go" grip. She quietly struggled out of his grip, trying not to wake Naruto up. She walked out of the room and went to the kitchen. No one was up yet. Her angel feet glided across the floor to the cabinet. There were cartons and cartons of ramen. She sighed. He needed some variety in his diet. In fact, if he took a blood test, she wouldn't be surprised if they found strands of ramen in his blood. She quickly put on some day clothes, a light gray t-shirt and a tan vest. Her black pants went down to her knees. Her clothes helped complement her curves. She quietly slipped out the front door to an already bustling street. She wandered down the street until she came to a food market. She walked in, picked up some eggs, bacon and bread. She made her way to the checkout. She paid for the foods and ran back to Naruto's house. She slipped back into the house and didn't wake anyone up. Everyone was still sleeping. Even Naruto was still holding her spot in the bed. She went back to the kitchen and started making breakfast. Good morning, beautiful, Naruto whispered as he opened his eyes, but there was no beautiful in front of him. He sat up quickly, making him dizzy. Hinata. He looked around the room. She wasn't there. He got up and quickly changed out of his old clothes. He hoped she hadn't left him, or if something had happened. He opened his door and was hit by the smell of bacon and eggs. He walked to the kitchen to see Hinata making breakfast. He sighed in relief. She was putting plates full of food on the table. He snuck up behind her, and when she had set all the plates down, he threw his arms around her waist. Good morning, beautiful, he whispered in her ear. She was startled at first, but she quickly realized it was Naruto. Every time he said good morning like that, it sent a shiver down a spine. Good morning, handsome, she replied. She turned around and kissed him on the cheek. Are you hungry? She asked him while he noticed one plate closet to him had spiky scrambled egg hair, 3 thin lines of bacon on its cheeks and eggs over easy for eyes. Were you busy? He grinned. She smiled back and nodded. Where did you get all this stuff? I didn't buy it. His grin faded to a confused look. No, you didn't buy it, and I got it at the store. Where else, silly? She smiled a teasing smile at him. He smiled back. I thought maybe you just asked God. After all, you are an angel. He kissed her on the lips. She smiled at his compliment. She loved it when it was just them. He cuddled her closer and she put her head on his shoulder. I love you, she whispered. I love you more. He grinned again. Oh, how he loved this game. No, I love you more. I love you more than you love me. That's impossible, because I love you more than you love me. She smiled. She kind of enjoyed this game. No, that's impossible because I love you more, Naruto replied. Well, I love you even more than that, she said. Naruto was about to come back with, I love you more than that, and ramen, that got her last time. Ahem. Sakura coughed. This stopped Naruto. Naruto sighed. Do you have a cold or something? Naruto said in an unamused voice. He turned his attention to Sakura. You have been coughing a lot. He smiled. She growled she was tired of Naruto. Hinata, did you make breakfast? Sakura asked. She looked at the 4 plates on the table. One looked like Naruto and the others were just smiley faces. Yes, Hinata replied, still in Naruto's arms. It's ready if you want to eat. Yeah, I'm pretty hungry, Naruto complained. Then eat, silly. She pushed her hand against his stomach and smiled at him. But that would mean I would have to let go of you. Naruto pouted. Sakura rolled her eyes. She kind of liked them being together, but it also kind of bugged her how they were always like this. You don't have to let go, only if you want to eat, she giggled. Naruto got an idea. Not necessarily. He walked over to his chair and sat down. He put her in his lap. She got the idea and she picked up a fork. She sat on his lap and started to feed him. He smiled. See? She smiled back. I guess you're right. Sakura and Ino walked around the couple and took their seats. They started eating. Sakura and Ino started talking about how they wished they had someone to love. They both envied Hinata for finding Naruto. She had always loved Naruto, but Naruto, that dummy, he hadn't noticed. They wondered if Hinata would just move on, but she always loved him. She had a very true deep love, it was obvious to the girls. They guys just thought it was a crush. Naruto had finished his breakfast and he started feeding Hinata. Sakura and Ino had also already finished their breakfast. They thanked Hinata and went back to their rooms to change into some day clothes. Hinata soon finished her breakfast as well. She was still in Naruto's arms. So what are we going to do today, Naruto? The same thing we do every day, Hinata. Spend as much time with each other as possible. He smiled. She smiled too. Oh, Hinata, thank you for making breakfast. He kissed her again as Sakura walked out of her room. Hey, when are you guys going to tell Hiyashi? Sakura said, walking closer to the couple. Naruto hesitated. She had spoiled this great moment, but she brought up a good point. Today, Naruto replied. Hinata was taken back. Tea today. But Naruto, he doesn't really approve of this. But he doesn't even know, Naruto argued. But he doesn't really like me or you. Exactly, then he won't care. Hinata was about to argue back, but she realized they probably should tell him. Alright, Naruto, but what if he gets really mad? What if he attacks you? Don't worry, we can get Tsunade's help. He smiled. Don't worry, Hinata, I will never let anything happen to you. He put his hand on her cheek and kissed her. Come on, let's get this over with. Tsunade-sama, Naruto and Hinata are here to see you, said a black-haired ninja. Send them in, Tsunade replied. The ninja opened the door, revealing Naruto and Hinata. They both had a little sadness or worry in them. But they both were holding hands. Tsunade smiled, so Hinata was the girl he was talking about. Well, Naruto, is this your girlfriend? Naruto perked up a little. He wrapped his arms around her and kissed her on the forehead. Yup, Hinata is my girlfriend. She's the best in the whole world. He shouted. Hinata blushed a little. He picked her up off her feet and spun around. Her hair flew in an almost surreal picture. Her expression was one of both worry and joy. It was a confusing look. Yet so darn cute. Naruto put her back on the ground. Hinata is my angel. She is the most beautiful girl ever. Naruto shouted before giving Hinata a quick kiss on the lips. His kisses always sent burning warmth through her body. It made her body tingle. She loved the feeling. She felt like she was floating. She was floating through a blue ocean sky. A beautiful shimmering sky, like his eyes. Well, it's about time. Man, Naruto, you must be the one of, if not the densest person in the whole world. You had to be blind, deaf and completely retarded to not realize she was interested in you. Or just you dense little knucklehead. She got up and ruffled up his hair. Shut up, Tsunade. I was just busy with other things. Yeah, like what? Tsunade was yelling. It looked just like a brother and sister fight. You excuse me, Tsunade-sama, Hinata said so low, almost a whisper. Yes, Hinata, Tsunade replied, a little surprised she had spoken up at all. Well, we came here for a reason. Naruto and I were going to tell my father about us. Tsunade remembered that stick in the mud, and how he hated Naruto for being alive. She frowned. Right. Well, that could be a problem, but what do you need from me? Well, we were hoping you could be with us when we told him so we could have some backup, or so to speak. Hinata explained. Yeah, I could see why you would want that. Alright, I will help. Hinata has been waiting to be with Naruto long enough, and you two look so darn cute together. Naruto and Hinata blushed a little. Tsunade walked over and opened the door. Get me Hiashi. She shouted. You summoned me, Hokage-sama, Hiashi said, entering the room. His voice shrank as he saw Naruto and Hinata sitting right next to each other. He glared at Naruto. Tsunade better not have been sending those two alone on a mission. He took a seat across from the two. Yes, I did. It has to do with these two, she said, holding her hand out toward the couple. Hiashi was furious. He would do something. There is no way his daughter would go on a mission with only the Uzumaki trash. There must be one other person for me to even allow my daughter to go on this mission. He growled. Mission? Oh no, there is no mission. This is something completely different. Tsunade explained. Hinata was breathing heavily. She wished it was a mission, but this had to get done sometime. These two have something very important for you to know. Tsunade continued. Hinata and Naruto gulped. They looked at each other. Naruto mouthed, I love you. Hinata nodded and mouthed it back. Hiashi was still focused on Tsunade, so he didn't notice the two. These two are together and they are in love. Love. Hiashi thought he heard wrong. What was the last word? Hiashi asked, hoping he heard wrong. Love. These two are in love, Tsunade repeated. Hiashi's eyes widened. He knew of Hinata's crush on Naruto, but he hoped while he was away she would forget about him. No. These two cannot be together. He said, standing up. I forbid it. You can't forbid love, Tsunade shouted. She was furious that Hiashi was this arrogant. How could he forbid love? How can you forbid an emotion? Yes, I can. Hinata, you are to come home now. Hiashi screamed. He couldn't believe this was happening. He was furious, not to mention the Hokage agreed with this. The Uzumaki trash should be banned from the village. How could she let this monster roam free, and dating his daughter? Naruto opened his mouth to yell at him. What was this guy's problem? Father, she is right, you cannot forbid love. Naruto and I love each other. I don't know why you hate him so much, but I love him, Hinata said, proudly staring at her father. Everyone stared at Hinata, shocked she actually spoke up, and against her father. Actually, Hiashi was shocked a little himself. Naruto is very kind, he is very loving, and he was the one who wanted to tell you today. He thought you might accept us in our love. I can forbid it. You are my daughter. Therefore you are to come home right now. This Uzumaki trash is never to be within 100 feet of you. He grabbed Hinata's wrist, ready to drag her home if he needed to. He was going to lock her in her room for months. She pulled her hand out off his grasp with a quick movement. Hiashi, what part of this don't you understand? You can't forbid love. Haven't you ever loved someone? Naruto shouted. Why, you little. Hiashi made a quick hand sign and activated his Byakugan. Tsunade was already out from behind her desk. She grasped his hand and clenched her hand tighter. Don't even think about it. Tsunade growled. It was a very eerie growl. Naruto had never heard that kind of anger in her. What about this don't you get? You have no say in the matter. This is an emotion, you can't change it. This is love, she said, pointing toward the couple. I can change it. He swung his hand around to smack Tsunade. She quickly blocked it and punched him in the stomach. He doubled over and Tsunade released him from her grip. He stood back up, and glared at all of them. You can't change love, Tsunade growled again. The word, love, stuck a chord with Hiashi. Very well, he said with almost a calm tone to his voice. He deactivated his Byakugan. Everyone thought he had maybe accepted this. You are not to return to the Hyuga house until you break up with this Uzumaki trash, and then wait a month, then and only then can you return to the Hyuga household. But even then I won't be accepting of what you have done. Hiyashi's voice rose, but he kept calm. How can you disown your daughter for loving? Naruto stood up shouting. She has done nothing wrong. If you want to be mad at me. Don't punish Hinata for my faults. Don't punish her. How can you be like that? Naruto continued to shout. Tears started to well up in his eyes. This man was infuriating. I don't hate her for loving, but for loving you, Hiyashi said as he walked out the door. He hated that trash for being alive. Someone should have killed him while he was a baby, then none of this would have happened. For loving you, that ticked Naruto off. How could he be so arrogant? He hated Hiyashi, he was so aggravating. He tightened his hands to fists. He wanted to kill Hiyashi. Well, that went better than expected. Tsunade said. What do you mean? That was horrible. Naruto shouted. Hinata's ears were starting to hurt. Well, you're both uninjured, right? Yeah, I guess, but still he was so freaking mean. He's an A. Naruto stopped himself, remembering this was still Hinata's father and he didn't want to make Hinata feel any worse. Yeah, I can't stand him myself. Tsunade complained. And Hinata, the way you stood up to your dumb excuse for a father was amazing. He sat down and held her in his arms. He put his hand under her chin to tilt her face toward him. Tears rolled off her face. They spilled over her pale lavender eyes and dove off the side, as they rolled down the soft cheeks of an angel. They flew down the soft plains of this beautiful girl, they came to her chin and dove to the floor, falling from the heavens to smack the earth. Hinata, you were amazing, what's wrong? He hates me for loving you, she said in gasps of tears. She sniffled. Naruto kissed her cheeks, he tried to kiss all her tears away, he wanted to kill Hiyashi for making her cry. He continued to kiss away her tears. His warm lips traveled up and down her wet and cold cheeks. He could taste the salty water droplets, they had a taste that was different than normal salt water. It had a taste of something, he didn't know exactly what though. I told you, I will never stop loving you, and at least we still have each other. Naruto said, pausing from kissing Hinata. I love you. I know, I love you too, but he hates me, because of my love for you. I thought maybe he would understand, but if he won't accept me for being with you, then who needs him? Hinata was finally realizing her father would never accept her, she was tired of trying to please him. As long as she was with Naruto she didn't need anyone else. That's right, we don't need him, we have our friends and most important, each other. He said as he leaned in to kiss Hinata. She kissed him back, she was glad her father hadn't injured them, and he hadn't dragged her home, and locked her in her room. An image quickly flashed across her mind. She pictured herself in a princess outfit in Tall Tower with her father who was dressed in a wizard outfit fighting off Naruto who was in a suit of armor. She giggled a little at the image. Naruto pulled back from the kiss. What's so funny? He asked with a quizzical look on his face. Nothing. I was just thinking about something. She smiled and hugged Naruto. Well, if you two are down with your little love scene, can we get on with this? Tsunade asked, raising an eyebrow. With what the meeting is over, we can go now, can't we? Naruto asked. No, I'm sure Hiyashi is not happy about this. Well, of course not. Were you not here when he started yelling? Naruto asked. I was here, you dummy, but I'm sure I will get many complaints from him until you two are separated. And I don't want you two to ever separate, so he will hate you and Hinata. I will have Neji and some other ninja move all your stuff to Naruto's place. Also, I will supply you with a little money, but only for a while. After all, Naruto is still on his break after being gone for nearly 3 years. She smiled. Hinata, you can leave. If you don't mind, I would like to have a word with your boyfriend. She smiled a little wider. Okay. She bowed a little. I'll see you at home, honey. She kissed Naruto and walked out the door. Naruto smiled. God, how he loved her. He turned back to Tsunade. So what do you want? He asked, hoping to get out of here to catch up with the most amazing girl. I'm giving you a little extra money for a special purpose, she grinned. What purpose? Naruto asked, confused. You'll see when the time comes. She smiled again. Now get the heck out of my office. Oh, and you should probably tell your girlfriend about why her father hates you. No, I probably shouldn't, she might. Naruto found it hard to say the words, leave me, and hate me like everyone else. I don't think I could take it. If Hinata were to leave, I don't think I could survive. She won't hate you, Naruto. I haven't ever seen Hinata stand up to her father, even over the littlest things. But today she stood up to him for one of the biggest things. She won't ever hate you, Naruto. Just tell her. She needs to know. Tsunade replied. I guess you're right. Naruto turned around and walked out. Thanks, Tsunade, for all your help. Hinata. Naruto yelled, running up to her on the street. She stopped and turned around. Naruto ran right into her with a big hug. He gave her a quick kiss. You were amazing in there, you're amazing. He smiled. Thank you, Naruto, she replied. Still worrying about all the things that happened. Come on, let's get home. He said, putting his arm over her shoulders and walking with her. He started talking to her about how mad Hiashi must be and how awesome she was for standing up to him. When they finally got home, they were greeted by Sakura and Ino, who had made lunch, ramen for both of them. Hey, we made you guys lunch because Hinata made breakfast, so, here you go. Everyone sat down and Naruto was about ready to slurp down his lunch when he remembered Hinata wasn't exactly fond of how he ate with company. When they were alone, she kind of liked how he ate. So Naruto started to eat his ramen in a more dignified manner. So how did it go? Sakura asked. You should have seen it. Naruto shouted, after he swallowed his mouth full of ramen. My awesome Hinata stood up to her father, she was amazing. He smiled at her and she half-heartedly smiled back. But, he won't allow her to go back to her house, because of me. His voice went down to almost a whisper. What? He won't let Hinata go back just for her feelings. That idiot. Let me at him. Sakura stood up, rolling up her sleeves. Go talk to Tsunade, she would probably like to help. Naruto chuckled. Sakura calmed down a little. Yeah, no surprise, she doesn't like him that much anyway. This probably made her even madder. Naruto had already finished his ramen. Hinata had only eaten about half and was done. She was depressed, Naruto could tell. He hated to tell her today, but maybe it would be better to take all the bad news at once. Hinata, I need to talk to you. He said, beckoning her to his room. Sakura blushed a little. She had an idea about what he wanted to talk about. Sakura snuck up to Hinata before she could stand up. I think he wants to talk to you about. Hinata stiffened and blushed. No, I don't think so. I think we're going to wait. Or at least she wanted to wait. She got up and walked toward his room. Go get him, tiger. Grr, Sakura said, flicking her hand down to look like a cat paw. She bared her teeth to try and resemble a tiger. Hinata walked into Naruto's room and closed the door. Naruto had his shirt off. Hinata worried a little. Was Sakura right? She wanted to have kids and start a family with Naruto, but not yet. She wanted to wait for marriage. Naruto, I think we should wait for marriage. No, we have to do this now. Naruto replied sternly. No, I really think we should wait for this. Hinata, we have to do this now. Please, I need for you to know. Your father hates me for a reason, and I think you should know, Naruto said in his stern voice. Hinata sighed a little. She was glad he wasn't going to make her have it yet. But why did he have his shirt off? She sat down next to him. You see, when I was very little, the Kyuubi attacked the village. Kyuubi. What did that have to do with this? When it attacked, they couldn't defeat it. Naruto continued, so the fourth tried to seal it inside of someone. But they needed someone young so that the kid could grow up and bond with it. and when they died so would the Kyuubi. They got an orphan. Naruto paused, Hinata's mind was racing. That orphan was me. Sakura still sat at the table waiting for some sounds to come from the room, but she didn't hear anything. She thought it caused a lot of sounds. But she didn't hear anything. She wondered if she was wrong, what he could have wanted. She thought for sure he wanted to talk to her about it. What? Hinata was stunned. Watch. Naruto stood up and gathered chakra as a spiral appeared around his belly button. She was stunned to say the least, though it would explain why so many people hated him. The fourth thought I would be a hero, I would have saved the village. But instead people despised me because of what I was. I was almost sacrificed for this village, and yet they hate me. They wouldn't acknowledge as anything but a monster. I never hurt anyone, but no one seemed to care. All they knew was that I had the Kyuubi inside me. I was an outcast, until Iruka, and then all my other friends. And you? He turned to her and kissed her on the cheek. I'm not sure how I would have survived without all my friends. I probably would have ended up like Gaara, alone and just killed for killing. She had no idea this was why the villagers hated him. He was a hero. His entire life he was an outcast and a martyr for a village that despised him. I understand. Naruto continued. I understand if you want to leave me, it's okay, I won't blame you. You can have this house and I will leave and go as far away as possible. I know you will probably hate me, today and tomorrow and maybe the rest of your life. I'm sorry for not telling you before. Naruto looked down expecting Hinata to stand up and yell at him. Like everyone else, he slowly got up and started to walk toward the door. I'm so sorry, I will tell Tsunade to give all the money to you. No, Hinata whispered. She was quickly behind Naruto and she wrapped her arms around him. She held him close and buried her head into his back. No, I will never, ever hate you. You are a hero, and everyone should see that. If everyone saw you like I did, I think you would be considered a hero. I love you, Uzumaki Naruto, with all my heart. I never want you to leave. She held Naruto close to her. She tightened her grip. Please don't leave me, I never want you to leave. Naruto was a little shocked she had accepted him. She had done what he thought no one would do. She had accepted him, Kyuubi and all. I love you, Hyuga Hinata. He whispered back. He pushed her back onto the bed and followed. He leaned her back so he lay on top of her, kissing her. He started kissing her cheek and down her neck. She never wanted him to be alone again. Naruto, let's wait. Naruto stopped. What was she talking about? And then he realized how close he was to kissing her chest. He blushed a little and stopped. Right, sorry. He smiled and sat up. We can wait for marriage. He smiled. She smiled back. Naruto put his shirt back on and they got up and walked out of the room. Sakura quickly looked up when she heard the door, expecting both of them to be half. But they were both fully dressed. She wondered what they did. What did you two do? She asked. Hinata blushed a little, remembering her early comment. Nothing, Naruto said. He shifted his weight. Excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom. He walked off. Hinata worried. Now she was alone with Sakura and Ino. Why did he have to go to the bathroom now? Sakura quickly snuck up to Hinata. Did you do it? Hinata blushed. No, we are going to wait until marriage. Hinata replied. But you talked about it, right? Only a little. Hinata replied, hoping that would be enough. Tell him you want to. Sakura responded. Hinata was taken back a little. No, I want to wait till marriage too. We both want to wait. Fine, but tell me, what will you name you kid if it's a girl? Sakura continued. Lucky for Hinata, her boyfriend appeared from the bathroom drying his hands on a towel. She sighed in relief. He had some impeccable timing. Okay, I'm back. He smiled. A knock came from the door. Naruto walked over to see Neji breathing heavily. Neji, what happened? Naruto asked. Hiyashi. He's furious. I ran here, faster than I ever thought I could. I'm supposed to help deliver some of you stuff, Hinata. He looked up. Man, I really don't want to even step on the front lawn of the Hyuga estate right now, Naruto laughed. Wow, I don't think I've ever seen Neji scared, he poked fun at Neji. Yeah, well, if you meet with him, I'm sure you would be scared too. Neji responded. Naruto's laughing ceased. He was right, if he meet Hiashi alone, Hiashi would probably kill him. He was a little worried now. What if Hiashi did try to kill him? What would he do? He was shaken out of his thoughts by a ninja carrying bags of clothes. These are some of Hinata's clothes. I and a few other ninja will be back with more of her items. Naruto nodded as the ninja disappeared. He snatched up the bag and walked toward Hinata's room. He still had a lot of thoughts running through his head about Hiashi and how much he hated that guy, but also about how Hiashi could kill Naruto if he really wanted to. He set the clothes on lavender sheets he had bought especially for her. Naruto appeared from Hinata's room to see Hinata and Neji talking. Hinata had a worried look on her face. Hinata, what's wrong? Naruto said, walking toward her. It's nothing, Naruto. She was hiding something. She was so sad today, and rightfully so. He had to cheer her up somehow. Naruto hugged her in a tight grip. Come on, tell me or I will have to squeeze it out of you, he said, smiling. He kissed her soft hair, then buried his head into her hair. So, are you gonna tell me or will I have to squeeze you? No, really, Naruto, it's nothing. She was hoping he would take that as an answer. But she felt his grip tighten. Naruto, really, it's just all the things going on today, his grip released. I know you better than that, Hinata, but if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. He hoped that would make her say it. She should have known he wouldn't believe her. A new ninja appeared holding a stack of books and 2 or 3 scrolls. There was one book atop that caught Naruto's attention. The front had a grassy field with purple flowers. They grew out from it and spiraled all around the book. He went over and took the stack from the ninja and set it on the table. He picked up the book and saw there was a little space in the middle of the cover that read, Hinata's Diary. Naruto smiled. Hinata's Diary. Hinata snapped into attention. I've never read that book before. I guess it sounds good. Dear Diary, today, Hinata had rushed over and tried to snatch the book out of his hands, but he quickly put the book in the air, holding it up as high as he could. Come on, give it, Naruto. She whined. But I wanna read it. It sounds like an interesting book, it's even got your name. He smiled. She knew he was teasing her. She kissed him. Please, Naruto. She said, pulling away from her kiss and looking up with her beautiful eyes. She had that sad puppy dog look on her face. No, it sounds like it would be very interesting. Naruto replied. He almost let her have it. Those puppy eyes were extremely hard to resist. She would have to go further. She moved him around and sat him down on the couch. She started to kiss him. He still held the book in the air. It sent a shiver down Naruto's spine. His hand started to lower. He started to kiss her back. He opened his mouth and asked for entry. By licking her lips, she complied and let him in. He started licking her tongue. A feeling of amazing warmth flushed across their bodies. An amazing sensation. The love for each other was like a big soft quilt. It kept them safe, warm, and secure. They felt each other's motions and moved with the other. Like they were in a dance. They loved this. She saw him finally set her book down. She reached her hand out from her hug and snatched it off the cushion. Yes, I got it, she said as she broke off their kiss. She smiled, holding the book in her hand. Darn it. Naruto mentally kicked himself. So that's what she was doing. He smiled. He had forgotten how clever and smart she was. Yeah, well, I got you, he said, holding her in his arms, then giving her an Eskimo kiss. She smiled. That's okay, as long as you don't have this, she said, holding the book in his face. He reached out for it, but she quickly drew it away. No, you can't read this, she said as she stuck it in a pocket on the inside of her jacket. You think that's gonna stop me? He said as let go of her. He unzipped her jacket. She was a little startled that he had unzipped her jacket. She was wearing an undershirt, so it was okay. He pushed the jacket off her and she complied and withdrew her arms from the sleeves. He didn't claim his prize. He left the book in the jacket. He did it only to show her she couldn't pull that one on him. The two continued to kiss passionately. Neji stood there watching the two. At first he was worried what Hinata was doing, but when she stole her book back he realized what she was doing. But now she had her book and she was still going at it. He blushed slightly, realizing what he was watching. He snuck past them and stood half out and half in the front door. "Don't forget condition number 2 inches," he said as he stepped fully out of the house. The couple stopped. They had forgotten he was here. They stopped kissing. Hinata sat on Naruto's lap with one leg to each side of him. She realized her legs were spread apart, and she quickly rolled off him and closed her legs. She blushed, but he kissed her on the cheek. "That's all right, it was fine." He grinned. They watched TV and helped move in Hinata's stuff. They sat together and watched some show about something or other. Neither of them knew they were more focused on each other. They talked about what they would do about this whole Hiyashi episode, and how they would thank Tsunade. They were both hypnotized by the other's eyes. Naruto couldn't stop staring at Hinata's beautiful pale eyes. They made him feel like he was floating in lavender-colored water. Except the water wasn't water. It felt like he was floating in air, watching purple fields of flowers run by him. They also made him feel secure, like everything about her eyes made him feel like nothing bad ever happened to him. She was surrounded by clouds. His blue eyes were like the sky. She was lost. If only she had a map, but then again she kind of liked being lost here. Hinata was the first to break free. "So what should we do to thank Tsunade?" Hinata questioned. A party. Yeah, a surprise party. We could have everyone in her office, to thank her." Naruto shouted with enthusiasm. He liked parties. "Yeah, I think that would be great. She needs some party time, she works so much." Hinata smiled and leaned her head on her boyfriend's shoulder. "Yeah, I think that would be fun." She closed her eyes, tired from all the things that happened today. He leaned his head on top of hers. "Yeah, it would be great." Hinata fell asleep. Today took a lot out of her. He sat there and watched the very small movement of her chest as she breathed in and out. He realized he was staring at her chest, and he looked away. He focused his attention to her face. The setting sun's light jumped through the window and cast itself on her face. The light rose color of the sun merged with her slight blush. He wasn't quite sure why she blushing, but she was. Her black hair fell in front of her face. Loose strands dangled themselves around her face. He brushed it away, and ran his thumb across her cheek, the soft cheeks of this amazing, and completely beautiful girl. The dust from the light floated around in the air like time was stopped. She was the best. This picture was priceless. Everything about this brought out everything in Hinata. She didn't even have those beautiful eyes open. If she did, he might not have ever been able to look away. He locked every detail about this into his mind. The dust floated around her and the light went from a light rose to a dark rosé. This was amazing. He never felt such warmth. Even when she was asleep, she made him feel wonderful. She barely moved in her sleep. She was perfect. He continued to watch her. The world must have been pointing at her and saying, "She is the one for you." He had an angel. He knew, and there was no doubt about it. He was the luckiest guy in the whole world. He had finished locking every detail into his mind, so he carefully picked her up and carried her to her room. He laid her down and brushed her hair away again. He leaned over and kissed her forehead. "Good night, beautiful," he whispered. He walked out and closed the door. It was still only around 7 o'clock and some ninjas were still dropping over little things. Naruto helped them move it in. He found a lot of things of interest. He found a smaller dairy. He skimmed through it. He found that almost every page had something to do with him. On the last page he found a big picture of a heart with an arrow through it. In the inside of the heart he found Naruto plus Hinata. He smiled. He was a fool. How could he have not noticed she was interested in him? He hated to admit it, but Tsunade was right. The final delivery of stuff was some photo albums. Naruto looked inside. He noticed Hiashi was always closer to anyone else in the picture but never Hinata. He clenched his hands. That man made him angrier than anyone he had ever met, without going all nine-tailed fox on the person. It was about 9 o'clock and Naruto decided to hit the hay. He changed out of his clothes into his pajamas. And put on his nightcap. He checked on Hinata to make sure she was okay. He walked into her room and found her spread out and breathing heavily. He noticed she was sweating a little. What could he do? He couldn't take off her shirt. That wouldn't be right. He didn't have a fan that he knew of. He sprinted the store and back. He bought 2 fans and 1 handheld fan. He walked into her room and found her still sweating. He set up the fans so the air currents covered her entire body. He used the handheld fan on her face. He was worried. What if something was wrong? He fanned furiously. After about 15 minutes of non-stop fanning, he noticed she was shaking. He sighed. He had overdone it. He turned off 1 fan and covered her halfway with the blanket. He figured that should do. He went back to his room. Fell onto his bed and went to sleep. Naruto. Hinata shouted, running toward him. She waved and jumped on him. He caught her and spun her around. Hinata. I love you, he said as he set her back on the ground. I love you too, she replied. She went to kiss him but she stopped. She was dragged backwards. Hiashi had her by the wrist and was dragging her back to his house. Naruto tried to move but he couldn't do anything. He could only watch as his love was dragged away from him. Hinata. He shouted. Naruto. She shouted back, as she disappeared into her former house. Naruto shot up panting. He looked around. Oh, good, it was only a dream. He lay back down. Wait, he said as he shot up and quickly crept into Hinata's room. She was still there. He saw her huddled up under the blankets. He went over to see if she was alright. He pulled the blankets back and leaned over to get a better look at his girlfriend. Unfortunately, there was no girl, there were pillows in her form. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. No, he whispered. He dashed out of her room. He busted out the front door, and dashed toward the Hyuga mansion. He was going to kill Hiashi. He didn't care it was Hinata's father. He was going to kill him. The lines on his cheeks started to thicken and his teeth became bigger and sharper. He ran past 2 people on the street. He turned around to see a very confused lavender-eyed girl. He stopped in his tracks and turned around and swept Hinata off her feet. He looked at the other person to see Neji. What the hell are you doing, Neji? Naruto shouted. Shish, Naruto, people are trying to sleep, Neji responded. So what are you doing? He growled. The lines on his cheeks started to thicken more. Had Neji betrayed him? Hinata could not sleep and we were talking. We put the pillows in the bed so you wouldn't come after us. But I can see that did not work. Neji responded. Naruto calmed down. Is that true, Hinata? Naruto asked. Hinata nodded. I'm sorry, Naruto, it was Neji's idea, but Neji was just telling me about how mad Hiashi is. Holy crap, guys, you scared the hell out of me. I thought Hiashi had kidnapped you. He sighed. That's because I have. Came a voice from everywhere. Hiashi came down from the trees. I will not let my daughter be with you, you Uzumaki trash. Everyone was shocked. Hinata is to come with me. Neji, you too. No. Naruto yelled as the lines thickened. No, you cannot take Hinata away. He growled. Too late, he said as ninja came down from the trees and snatched Hinata and Neji. They used a ninjutsu to paralyze both of them. They couldn't do anything. Naruto roared and disappeared. He quickly appeared, next to the ninja holding Hinata. He gave him a very strong punch. Knocking him out, Hinata was released from the grip and the ninjutsu. Father, how can you do this? Hinata shouted. Naruto quickly disposed of the other ninja holding Neji. There were 3 ninjas still gathered around the fight scene. Naruto, I'll take our spectators, you can take care of Hiashi, Neji said, dashing into the tress. The three of them stood there. Naruto was ready to tear this guy a new face. But Hiashi quickly dashed over and struck Naruto. It sent a wave of pain through his body. The fox chakra quickly healed the pain and some damage. Naruto gathered chakra in his palm and slammed it into Hiashi's stomach. Rasengan, he shouted. Hiashi pinwheeled backwards. Shadow clone jutsu. Naruto shouted. Naruto. Hinata yelled. Naruto ceased his attack and looked back at her. She was crying again. Dang it. He knew he had gone too far. He tried to calm down. Hiashi disappeared in a puff of smoke. When the smoke cleared, there was a log with a big crater in it. Naruto cursed under his breath. Hinata, come with me. Hiashi said. I am your father, you are to do as I say. He said, appearing in the trees. Father, how can you do this? Hinata sobbed. Because, I will not allow you to be with this Uzumaki trash. He growled. Hiashi jumped from the trees and charged at Naruto. He attacked Naruto with a very quick couple of strikes. Naruto lost feeling in his left arm. Hiashi came in for another strike. Hinata stepped in and stuck Hiashi's attack away from Naruto. Hiashi was taken by surprise. Hinata had not only spoken up against him today, but she had actually attacked him. He turned to try to attack Hinata, but Naruto had shadow clones holding his limbs. Naruto gathered chakra in his palm. He formed a swirling vortex of blue fury merging with the demonic red. He slammed the vortex into Hiashi's stomach. Hiashi pinwheeled backward. Hiashi stood up, bleeding in pain. He charged at Naruto again. He was going to finish this. Hinata stood in his way. 8 divination seal, 64 strikes. She shouted as she gathered Hi chakra and strikes at Hiashi. Hiashi was sent backward. Hiashi turned into a log. Hiashi appeared behind Naruto and sent a very strong shock wave into Naruto's spinal column. Naruto disappeared in a puff of smoke. Another log had appeared. Naruto came down from the sky, crossing his fingers. 5 Narutos quickly faded into reality, coming straight for Hiashi. But Hiashi couldn't move. He looked down. 2 hands were sprouting out of the ground like daisies. They were clenched onto Hiashi's ankles. Clever, he thought. 5 fists slammed into Hiashi. Hiashi's face raced to meet the dirt. Hiashi groaned. He rose from the ground. He charged once again at Naruto but stumbled. His vision was blurred from not only be slammed into the ground, but he was losing a lot of blood. Hiashi fell to the ground once again. He knew he couldn't continue with so much blood loss. His world spun and merged with black ooze. The ooze merged with his world and then took over. He fainted. Naruto stood over Hiashi. He picked him up, though he had half a mind to leave him there for dead. Come on, we need to get him to the emergency room. Hinata nodded and agreed. Neji met up with them as they dashed off to the hospital. Hey, we have a critically wounded man over here. Naruto shouted as he busted into the hospital. The nurses and doctors looked over at the man. They quickly realized he was serious and they rushed over to him. They put him on a stretcher and wheeled him off down the hallway. They all took a seat. I can't believe my father would do such a thing, Hinata whispered. I'm sorry, I probably went too far. Naruto said. No, it was fine. Hiashi was trying to kidnap us and he attacked you. You were just protecting us. Neji said. That's right, Naruto, you were just protecting us. Hinata said, grabbing his hand. Besides, he won't die from that, right? Right. Naruto responded. Hinata leaned her head on Naruto's shoulder and fell asleep, tired again from everything that was happening. He smiled a little. He put his hand on her head and ran his hand across her soft silky hair. Neji watched the couple. He realized that Naruto was a very good person. He was always going to care for Hinata and never let anything bad happen to her. He just knew somehow he would always be there. He also realized how childish Hiashi was being. Excuse me, said a nurse as she walked into the room. The 2 guys looked up. You can go home, he will be fine. We have stabilized his condition, he is sleeping now. Okay, thank you, Naruto replied. He got up and carried Hinata in his arms. He walked to his house with Neji at about 2 o'clock in the morning. Naruto was tired, but he watched the gentle girl in his arms. She looked so calm, she only moved once in a while. When they got to the house, Naruto walked through the doors and set Hinata back onto her bed. Neji, why does her father hate me and Hinata so much? He asked, still watching Hinata. Honestly, I don't know, I think if he got to know you he might realize who you really are. He only sees you as the Kyuubi. That's all he told me about you, you have the Kyuubi inside you. I think he doesn't realize who you really are. Do you think he will ever like me even a little? Naruto questioned. I don't know, I've never tried to get him to like me, so I don't know. I've never tried. Never tried, Naruto said, thinking. Well, I'm gonna try. He paused to turn to Neji. I'll tell you the verdict, he said as he walked to his room. Oh, you can stay here for the night if you want, Naruto said from his room. No thanks, I'll go home. I'll see you later, Neji said, walking out the front door. Naruto fell back asleep and dreamed. Hinata woke up feeling great. Except, she remembered what had happened last night, that brought her mood down a peg. She got up and checked on Naruto. He was sprawled out on the bed with limbs in every direction. She giggled a little. She closed his door and made breakfast again. This time she actually had the things she needed. She was glad she had persuaded Naruto to go get some actual food items. She cracked some eggs into a bowl and added flour, and started mixing. Naruto, watch out. Naruto rolled, dodging some kunai in his dream. He fell off the bed and fell flat on his face. Ow, he groaned. He lifted himself off the floor and started rubbing his face. Crap, I hope I didn't wake Hinata up. He got up and quietly snuck into Hinata's room. She wasn't there. He walked out and walked into the kitchen. He figured nothing had happened because last night, Hiyashi should be in a lot of pain.